Okay, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to do some more glider flying, but first I wanted to show you this. This is from flighsim.to. Now that's a website that provides all sorts of resources in terms of scenery, aircraft, etc. for Flight Sim 2020. And one of the things they provide is this wonderful training glider called the K7, which is a design that goes back to the 50s. And I got to fly several times with one of the clubs in my province, and I really liked it. It was a lovely little airplane to fly. The great thing about it for Flight Sim 2020 is it's much easier to fly behind the tow plane on takeoff particularly, but even in flight and landing. This is a much more forgiving airplane in a lot of ways, and it's very, very predictable, and I would call it an honest airplane. It will spin if you get silly in it, but I want to show you why I think this, especially if you're new to gliders in Flight Sim 2020, this should be the first glider that you install in the game. You don't even need to try the Microsoft Flight Sim versions that are already in there. They're wonderful gliders, but this will get you started on the right foot. It's much easier to fly, but you still have to learn all of the techniques that are required for higher level gliders. So let's get into it. I'll fire up Flight Sim, and in my own inimitable, he said pompously, in my own inimitable way, I shall try to explain why, again, I think this is the glider for your beginning flights in soaring in Flight Sim 2020. Recording has started. Wonderful. Here we are in an Alexander Schleicher K7, which is a training glider, a two-seat glider that was built originally in the 1950s, I think. I flew one several times, never as a student, but always from the front seat. So we'll see what this feels like. And we're at, I just typed gliders into the search portion of, the World Flying screen and came up with Judenbach glider field. It sounds like it might be in Germany or Austria. I don't know. I expect it's going to be pretty though, so let's fly. And it's an evening flight, which is actually a really good time for beginners, because I just got to get myself centered in the... let's try that. That's not too bad. It's a good time to fly because generally there isn't a whole lot of wind. There isn't as much thermal activity. It's basically a pure gliding flight. You get up, you do a few turns, you work on a couple of flight exercises, and off you go. Let's see what this looks like. Rudders are working. Yeah, that seems right. Nope. I guess we're going. I was checking my controls and I forgot that operating the rudder will tell the tow pilot to take off. I should be able to get into the air. Oh yeah, look at this. Yeah. This is just like real life, except I got a little bit high there and that was my fault. Again, that's a trim issue. If I'd trimmed properly, I'd be able to stay right here below him from takeoff. Yeah, this is a nice airplane for AeroTow. These older gliders, cloth and fabric, have really, really big rudders, and boy, that helps on the ground. Most tail draggers had really big rudders too, because for the first 20 or 30 feet of roll, rudder is all you've got. None of the other controls work until you get more air over the wings, and then the ailerons and the elevator start to work. So let's have a nice relaxing evening flight. I'm sorry that I don't speak German at all, so please forgive me if I mispronounce things, as I inevitably will. Bod nun har Pfeiler Arvida Airfield is over there. It's a little bit dark. Darn it, I wish I'd opted for an earlier flight time. But this will be a fairly short flight anyway. I'm going to post a link to where I got this add-on glider. I think it's called flightsimaddons.to. But it's a really excellent resource. I mean, this is a really nice job they've done on this. I'm going to post a link to it. If you like flying gliders, I really think this is a better glider to start with for you than the high performance ones in the sim. Because the high performance ones in real life, you know, you'd never put a beginner in one of those. Never, ever, ever. Not on your life, except as a passenger. They are just way too tricky. You have almost no aileron response at all near the ground at low speed. And it just makes them generally trickier to fly. The elevator's smaller, the rudders are smaller, everything is compromised for the sake of reducing drag and increasing lift. And they are beautiful airplanes to fly once you're in the air. But if you want to learn how to fly a glider, start with the K7. I wish they had the L13 Blanik in this game. That's what I learned on, and they're not allowed to fly anymore. They've run into some issues, but it was an excellent training aircraft. And then its big brother, the Super Blanik, is still in production. And their little solo ship, the LS-33 Solo, is another good choice. So, I mean, if you start with a cloth and fabric and tube ship like this, and then get the hang of flying the AeroTow and Soaring, the next step to a glass ship will be a lot easier. Alright, pretty soon he's going to want me to get off the tow, I think. And I don't know how long we're going to be able to stay up, because this one does not have a glide ratio of 50 feet forward for every foot down like the other gliders I've been flying, like the LS8. This one is probably more like 25 feet forward or 23 feet forward for every foot down, so kind of a good idea to figure out where we can land. That looks like the runway below us to our right. It's quite a bit noisier than the other gliders, but I don't know how much of that is the the beta firmware that I'm running in my Pimax Crystal. One of the privileges of beta testing is that sometimes you get to work with firmware that needs some work, and this firmware is great for flying, but it's kind of trashed the audio a bit. The firmware that people are getting with the pre-order crystals that are arriving now is much better. And I have to say, I'm very impressed with this free glider add-on. You just become a member at the site, which I think is flightsimaddons.to. But I'll put it in the description below, the link to it, because it's a really good site. They've got all sorts of aircraft. I would love it if they did a Blanik L13, but I'd really love it if they did a Luscombe 8F, which was an airplane I owned and didn't get to fly very much before I became too ill to be allowed to fly. I would love to have that in my VR library. And a Piper Tri-Pacer would be nice. I had a half share in a Tri-Pacer, and I put quite a few hours on that. Not a pretty airplane, they called it the Flying Milk Stool, but a very honest airplane. Very honest. The rate of descent was about the same on final as the Cessna 150, but or 172, but you pretty much come straight down. You might be doing 60, 65 miles an hour, but but your glide path is an awful lot steeper than it is in the Cessnas. So we're kind of in the midst of the clouds in the evening as the sun is setting. I wish there were no clouds so we could see the sun glistening off water in the distance as it sets. I have to admit I'm quite happy with this acquisition. The cockpit looks quite good. I mean, it's not the utter perfection that you see in some of the more expensive purchases or the Asobo planes, but it's as good as many of them. It's certainly accurate enough. I'm checking the ball against my yaw string, and it's accurate. When the ball's in the center, the yaw string is pointing right at me. If I let the ball go to the right, the yaw string should go to the left, and it does. Let the ball go to the right, a little too much rudder, and or the left rather, and the yaw string should point. It should point eventually. That's not really doing that. Of course, the problem is I'm not really stepping on the ball that hard. But the yaw string points to the rudder pedal that you have to press, and the ball is always on the side that you have to step on. So if your ball is right, the yaw string should be showing like an arrowhead pointing to the left rudder. I know there are people out there who are saying, I didn't subscribe to this guy to learn about flying gliders. I just want to hear about the headset and what's good and bad about it. Grumble, 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 grumble. Well, I don't blame you. I do talk too much about flying. Oh, here's what's great about it. Look below me here. Even in the twilight here, as the sun prepares to set, the colors just look so real. I mean, the various shades of green and textures. Honest to God, it just looks like I'm there. And the sweet spot on this headset is pretty much the field of view. You know, slightly under for these plastic lenses. I can't tell you how much I'm looking forward to this generation of headset and the follow-on generation. I think I would call the Somnium and the 12K, if you follow VR, as the follow-on headsets to this generation. They'll feature a wider field of view and clarity that will be very close to this. I'm hoping that Pimax will send me, in addition to the normal glass lenses to replace my plastic ones, the wider field of view ones. I was really I wasn't angry, but I was disappointed when I discovered that the field of view in the Crystal was not what I'd hoped to be. It's supposed to be 120 degrees horizontal, and I've got about 103 in my testing. And I thought that was going to be a deal breaker for me, but it's not really. I'm kind of used to it. Would I rather have the field of view of my 8KX? Yeah, I really would. But I can't give up the clarity of this headset. I really, really, really love the clarity of this headset. Alright, let's start winding our way back towards the field. You can see it over there. As we get closer, it'll come into sight. Now I should be high enough that I can do a good pass here. Do everything correctly. Don't think I have an electronic variometer in here. There's no beeping noise in the background. But I think the rate of climb indicator, which you see, I don't know if you can see the mouse on it. You got airspeed. Here's our variometer. And that's the rate of climb indicator. the variometer does a better job of measuring what the air you're in is doing. With a rate of climb indicator, you can fool yourself into thinking you're climbing when you just pulled the stick back and you've got stick lift. See, now you think, oh boy, we're really climbing. Now the rate of climb is falling off. The glider got way too quiet, and I have to recover an incipient spin. That was quite realistic. This is a really, really excellent product. I can see myself spending quite a bit of time in this glider. I really could. I mean, to me, it just, it really reminds me of the K7 that I flew. I guess it should. It's modeled. It's a K7, but I mean, I have no basis of comparison for the LS8. Oh, that's the problem with my modeling again. When I pull the spoilers out, it jams. I've got it co-modeled to my head position for some reason. Normally I use this switch to move my head closer. Alright, let's get halves. I got about half spoilers out. That's what we want. We don't have water ballast to worry about. We want to keep our nose at a fairly constant angle. Now I got full spoilers. You notice our airspeed isn't increasing, but our rate of descent sure was. That's okay. Keep the nose down. As long as you've got a little spoiler out, you've got energy in the bank that you can use if you get too slow. A little more spoiler. Oops. There's the problem with my with my modeling. I should do that now. I keep complaining about this every time I fly glider, but I don't do anything about it. Good gravy. Oh, well, what are you going to do? I got to lean to the right and push center to get sort of centered. Oh, there we are. That's a little better. Let's, I might as well show you how to set this up if I can figure it out myself, as long as we're in here. Okay, we want to go to controls. Now, I've got the Pro throttle here, and that's what I've been using for my flight control surfaces. So I want to leave that alone, but I want to go to camera. And cockpit camera. Oh yeah, there it is. I want to get rid of that. I don't want to, I want to get rid of that. How do I do that? Clear current input. There we go. Validate. Toggle cockpit view. I think we'll leave it at that for now. We'll leave it at that for this one. Apply and save. Now, let's go to the gunfighter joystick and go to camera. Cockpit camera. VR pilot view reset I've got. Translate cockpit left. Okay, I want to use this button, I think. Yeah, I think I'll use this button. Point of view hat left. Okay, good. Validate. Oh no, I got that backwards. All right, point of view hat right. Right button. Okay, right. This is how I get things mixed up because I'm just not the sharpest tool in the shed. Let's try looking left, moving the head left. Good, that's good. Validate. Translate forward. Push the hat forward. Good. Validate. Translate backwards. Push the hat back. There we go. Validate. Nope, that didn't work. There. That worked. There. And my reset is here. I may want to change this later, but for now that'll be okay. I like to have the camera reset button. Yeah, I think I'm going to change this. Cockpit right. Let's clear the current input, and we'll use that. Oh, I don't want to increase cockpit height. Clear input. Okay. Okay, forget it. All right, I'm going to have to spend more time on this, figuring this stuff out, rather than wasting your time as you're watching this. But I think, as you can see, let's get back into it. Validate that. Let's go back. Oh yeah, I forgot to apply and save. Let's resume. Let's see if this worked. Yep. Okay. No, oh, all right. So I still have some work to do here. For some reason, it didn't work. Look at that. I think I've got some conflict here. Yeah, obviously. Okay. So, I'll sort this out on my own time. I won't waste yours. But thanks for joining me. I think this KA7 is a wonderful addition. The price is right. It's beautiful and it flies nice. Grab it if you want to learn to fly gliders in fs2020. I recommend this ahead of anything that comes with the game because it's much, much easier to fly, but still requires you to develop all the basic skills that you need to fly a glider. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging with me and putting up with my rambling as usual. Remember to buy your Finn Does Sims wristwatch. It's the only wristwatch in the world that doesn't go tick-tock, tick-tock. It just goes talk, 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 talk. Anyway, we'll tick-tock, he said humorously, again soon.